Hello there. You are listening to Messy Success with Tracy French and Friends, a podcast about finding real-world success in unconventional ways. As always, thanks so much for tuning in. Today, we have the pleasure of having my co-host, Jim Hill, with us in the studio. He was sick last week and bailed on me. So
sorry.
Jim, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So Jim joined, we actually met by, we were introduced by a fellow agent in our office who somehow thought that he would want to work with me. And so that's how we met. So tell us about who you are, where you're from, and all that good stuff.
All that jazz. Okay. Hey, yeah. So my name is Jim Hill, originally born and raised in the state of North Carolina. Came to Louisville in 2004. Came here to get my master's degree at the university in sport administration. I was also a cheerleader in college, so that kind of brought me here as well. Met my wife, Jessica, while we were here as cheerleaders. Got married 2007. Been kind of in and out of the state of Kentucky since. Lived in the state of Tennessee for about 8 years. And then a career change happened, which is what brought me into this wonderful world of real estate. And meeting Miss Tracy French. And we are back here now. My wife is very happy to be living back in Louisville, where her family is, where she was born and raised. So yeah, it's been a great, despite all the things going on in the world, it's been a great past year and a half, 2 years for me, professionally growing and continuing to do that every day.
What have some of the favorite things about the city been for you?
About the city? Oh, man. So, I love being in a college town. Even though our college sports here are very corporate with the University of Louisville, I still like being around a team that I support and raise, even though last night's game was less than stellar. But that's neither here nor there. But, I like being in a college town, but also has a bigger, city feel, which is exactly what I feel like Louisville has.
Are you not going to tell...
And the bourbon.
And the bourbon.
Yes.
So I hear. Are you not going to mention the fact that you are a national champion?
I am a 3-time national champion.
Ooh. I think that's pretty cool to mention. Do you have one with University of Louisville and then another one with, what's the other school?
North Carolina State. So in 2001, as a member of the national championship NC State collegiate co-ed team in 2001 with NCA, and then I cheered here for 2 years at Louisville. And won back-to-back in 2005 and 2006 with the large co-ed team. And then I guess technically I'm a 4-time champion because I was coaching here in 2011 when the large co-ed team won in 2011. So I've been very, very fortunate and blessed and a part of some really, really great teams as far as cheerleading is concerned across the years. So, yeah.
Fancy. So what we're going to talk about today is many of you know, obviously, I'm pretty new to this whole podcast thing, and I'm kind of learning a little bit more as I go. So I got a chance to listen back to episode 1. Hopefully, all of you listening now have also listened to that episode by the time you're listening to this one. And there were a couple things I wanted to kind of touch on from that. First of all, let me just say, I think most of us can relate to we don't like to hear ourselves talk.
I think that's the truth.
It's kind of, it's almost like nails on a chalkboard type feeling.
Speak for yourself, Tracy.
I don't know. I'm there with you. I feel like I'm so nasally when I hear myself. I'm like, is this guy sucker talking through his nose the whole time or something? I don't know.
So I talked to my broker about it, and not only the way that I sound, but it doesn't always really come across the way you think it is. And then, of course, Jay, my broker, who also has his own podcast, was like, pro tip, don't listen. I'm like, good advice, because I think it's going to cause me to stress out even more. So I'm not going to listen to this one back. So hopefully you guys love it.
I'll listen to it and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
There you go.
But during that episode 1, we talked about, I noticed that I kept hearing myself say, well, I work really hard. And Joel even asked me to elaborate on that. And I don't feel like I really did a good job of that. So I wanted to take this episode to kind of really focus on what that means for me especially in the real estate game. And I think a lot of my listeners will probably be people in the same profession. So I kind of wanted to go through just kind of item by item of things that I feel kind of come behind that. So let's talk about it's a lot of small things, and I think it's why it's sometimes difficult to talk about or kind of put into words because again, it's not like labor. It's like I was telling Joel before we started recording. It's mental labor. It's being able to handle all that comes at us and giving everyone the attention that they need. For example, being available. So obviously when you are in the profession that we're in, it's a people business and they need you to be available. Staying present on social media. When you make a post, and I tell the team this a lot, when you put a post out there, if you're doing it the right way, people are going to interact with you. So when I first started doing this, about 7 years ago, I started the social media thing, and upkeeping the social media itself was that's a part-time job. And honestly, when you put things out there, you want people to notice and comment. And when they do, it's important that you interact with them. So that alone, again, that can be, it can add to your stress levels, of course. Nothing comes easy, but it's just making sure that when you put yourself out there and people comment or, obviously not every time someone likes something, but if they take the time to comment on something that you put out there, make sure that you comment back every single time. Again, interacting with followers, same kind of thing. Know your industry. And these are all things that it's part of the whole work hard thing. You can't really jump into this business and not learn about the things like home inspections, learn about mold, learn about financing, what programs are out there, because all of your clients will be at different income levels. There's not one that's the same. So being able, when they reach out to you, knowing what is available to them. So that's...
How long do you think it took, and maybe just even give us a story, how long did it take for you to get used to your industry that you're in now, and what were some big milestones in that adventure?
I would say I think I learned a little bit before I got into the industry too, just from being a homeowner yourself. You learn a lot. I think you can attest to that.
Absolutely.
So the fact that I had bought and sold a home myself, I had flipped a house with my husband. I learned quite a bit just from that process, as far as, things that have to be done, learning about and developing a relationship with a lender and really sitting down and saying, okay, well, knowing what credit score works for what program, VA, FHA, the differences between the two. If there's lunch and learns that are being offered, go. I can't tell you how many times I went to a lunch and learn during the day, multiple times a week sometimes, just to make sure I was taking in as, being a sponge. Because if it's every time you meet a client, I promise you there's always something a little bit different. Are they self-employed? You just knowing where to go with it. Are they self-employed? This would go down a rabbit hole. Knowing how long it takes for someone who's had a bankruptcy to buy a house again. Just, again, it's education, being able to be the resource that they need. And that comes with time and putting yourself out there and all that jazz. Jim, would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I'm still learning every single day, all kinds of new stuff. I feel like I asked Tracy questions 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and I'm like, oh man, I hope I'm not like annoying her, but she's always very available. To her first point, she's not just available for her clients, but she's available for her team, which is wonderful.
I think though the biggest thing, it sounds small, but when they reach out to you, respond. And again, when you have, it seems like it's simple, but when you have 15 clients at one time, and making sure that you're providing all of those things to all of your clients, it becomes a lot. And that's so when I say work really hard, again, it might not sound like a lot, but it can be a mental strain, I guess, being able to overcome it.
So how do you react to that? How do you react to just being absolutely mentally dead tired?
Well, for me, I hired a contract to close coordinator that really took off, because in the beginning it was, okay, showing, listing appointments, showing. And then you've got all this back end paperwork that you haven't even touched yet. So it's like if you get home from showings at 9:00 at night, you think you're done. No, that's when now you got to get on the computer, check up all the emails that came in that day. Then you've got to do title sheets to get those turned in, schedule home inspections, then reach out to all of the people who commented on your social media pages that day and making sure that you're doing all those touches and making them feel special. So, but getting a contract to close coordinator was huge. Robin is my saving grace.
Shout out to Robin. We love you.
But that to me, and I still don't have what you would, what some people would call a assistant. I still do a lot of things myself, but that was something that saved me a lot of time and stress from just being able to take care of my clients and know that someone else was taking care of the back end paperwork that kind of keeps everything moving. So.
Yeah, no, Robin's a lifesaver. I mean, her and Tracy both, kind of given the stage that I'm at in this career, I'm kind of lost without the two of them sometimes. So I probably shouldn't admit that, but.
And another thing I think this is super important, and it falls under the whole work hard category. It's being proactive. I think a lot of people sit around and they wait for the phone to ring. It's like, I tell my team, you can't live and die by the Zillow lead or the cold lead coming in. What can you do to reach out to people other than waiting for the phone to ring? I have an example written down here that is huge. So there was a lead that came in, and for those of you listening that don't really know what I'm talking about, real estate agents have the opportunity to basically pay lead sources to send business our way. It could be people that are just searching online on Zillow or Realtor.com and they want to inquire about a property. And once that happens, their inquiry gets sent to us. Sometimes those people don't want to talk to you, and sometimes they do. So, but we had a lead came in, and they were inquiring about a property that was already sold, so it wasn't available. So it's like, okay, I don't know this person, but I know that they're looking for something to purchase, so I'm going to be the one to find it. So I go out and I, went to all the real estate forums that I knew, and I locally here in town, I said, who has a listing coming up in this complex, in this condo complex? I have someone looking. And sure enough, someone says, you know what? That's funny. I have one coming up in 2 weeks. And, I kept in touch with them over the few weeks. The seller, it ended up being probably 3 weeks now. Seller was out of town. Then seller had to do some painting, but I kept in touch with that person. I kept following up with the lead that came through and the listing agent who has the listing coming up. Now we have an appointment at 4:00 p.m. today to show that person this condo. So that's the little things, going above and beyond, and thinking outside the box, going and finding the business.
That motivation just seems so rare to me. Tell us about, were you given that motivation to just go out and self-start, or was that something that was trained into you by parents, or where does that come from? Because I don't think that's a very normal thing.
Oh gosh. I don't know. I like to help. I like to help, and it's rewarding. It really is. And then when you'd be surprised how many people, so many, most agents, they get that lead, it's sold, and they say, oh, I'm sorry, it's sold. I'm sure that happens all the time, but if you're willing to take the time and take that extra step and go, that person is going to be so appreciative that you were willing to do that. I don't know. It's in the feeling that you get afterwards. I don't know. It's just, I'm a very emotional type person, and I just like to, and you know, it's good to want to be better than the next person.
What about you, brother? How do you self-motivate?
You know, it's funny that you say that. So I am ultra competitive in everything I do.
For sure.
I have been, you know, and I don't know if that's because of how I was raised or if it's because I was very fortunate to be a part of so many, you know, championship winning, you know, obviously related back to cheerleading teams that I was associated with coming up in the years. But I'm just ultra competitive.
Yeah.
I hate losing. So, you know, losing can come in so many different forms, but winning can come equally in so many different forms. So, you know, to Tracy's point, when these leads come in and, you know, the house is pending or under contract already, and it'd be easy just to say, oh, I'm sorry, that one's gone, and try to move on to the next. But no, you know, so there might be that initial defeat with the house being pending. You know, that's the card that you were dealt. So then, you know, to take that one step further, like, well, how can I turn this, you know, obstacle, which is a semi-defeat, how can I turn that into a win? And then, you know, going above and beyond that, you know, for the person, you know, out there, you know, we're so inundated with, you know, electronics. We're everybody's got a phone tied to their hand. There's, you know, social media. There's all the different things where you can go and find for yourself, and you don't actually have to have that, you know, personal interaction with people. But I believe, you know, people are still hungry for that. You know, I tend to have so much better of a buying experience as a consumer when I actually get to talk to a human being and a person. You know, so when you actually take that step, you know, and say, hey, you know what, so sorry, you know, this house is already gone. However, here's 3 other ones similar to that one in the same area, in the same price range that may fit what you're looking for. What do you think? And then, you know, they don't always respond, but at the same time, they're like, oh, you know, I actually saw that house too. Well, let's go take a look at that one. All right, cool. Ready to write a contract? Let's make that money. Let's get paid. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's just, I think it goes back to, you know, and I think Tracy hit on this a minute ago, but it goes back to people skills and interacting with people. It doesn't matter to me, you know, if you're an extrovert or an introvert, people want on some level that interaction. You know, I think that anyways, and especially in this business when it comes to the humongous decision that it is to buy a house or sell a house for that matter. I mean, it's the biggest expense that anybody's going to have in their lifetime, or should be, unless you're an ultra millionaire and you can buy like $1 billion boat. I'm striving for it.
2024.
I'm saying, but you know, it's just, I think the more that you can actually have that personal interaction touch with people versus some type of electronic automated response. I mean, that's, you know, capturing that business and taking that step and going that extra mile, you know, I believe is what's going to get you to those wins versus the losses.
Yeah.
And I'm all about the wins. I hate losing.
I do too. And I was just looking through my phone trying to find some messages that I had received on my business page. There was one, I hadn't spoken to her or heard from her in probably 8 to 10 months or so. But I remember she reached out to me this week, and I went back through to kind of refresh myself on what we had talked about before. And that is, my service was one of the things that she really appreciated. I remember she was like, thank you so much. You've given me so much information and taken the time to answer my questions, knowing that I'm not a customer right now. And like that, I don't, again, it's a whole feel good thing. Making people, you don't want someone, if they're not going to be you don't want to see dollar signs.
Yeah.
Or, you know, if they come to you, for example, if they have not so great credit, a lot of times, unfortunately, a lot of people in our profession will count them out. And when you don't count them out, they are going to be your biggest supporter. They are going to appreciate you, and they are going to send you so many referrals because you were the one who didn't count them out. You were willing to walk the walk with them. And that is huge. And that's part of the work hard, is being able to do what other people aren't willing to do. It pays off every time.
Yep.
And it seems like the touch that you have with people, it directly leads to that success. I mean, that's hard. It's hard to to go home after talking to a bunch of, emotional people. Not emotional in the sense that maybe they're more emotional than others, but just in the midst of an emotional decision.
Yeah.
Where they have to buy, the thing that they are going to potentially live in for the rest of their lives. So, man, it seems like that hard work really pays off.
It really does. Let me look back at my notes for a second. Yeah, and even right now, going through this, it's still tough to put into words. And I'm sitting here thinking of, but honestly, I'm noticing that everything that I say is just a different way of saying the same thing. It all just goes back to, being available, being willing to help someone in whatever way that you can. And if you're not the person with all of the answers, being willing to walk them to the person that has the answer. And again, we could go through this little list that I made, but at the end of the day, it all comes back to the same thing but so many people aren't willing to do those things. If it's not easy, if it's not here's a person who wants to see a house today at 6 p.m. and write an offer. If it's not that easy, they give up. And I can relate it to, I think everyone in this room can probably relate to what I'm going to say. So many people who start working out, if they go to the gym,
I want to talk about it.
You go to the gym, the New Year's resolution people. When I used to be an avid gym goer, it's kind of the same. You go in, and if you don't get that instant gratification, what happens? You give up.
You get fatter.
And then the gym by mid-February empties out again, and all your equipment is available to you again. It's the same way with real estate. In any kind of, if oftentimes if it requires too much work, you're not willing to put it in. It's good for people like me, for the, obviously if everyone offered the same service, then my job would be a little bit more difficult. So I'm kind of thankful that not everyone has that drive and work ethic and willing to care. It works out, but yeah, the gym is a good analogy, because I think so many people give up way too soon. What are you going to say? It's okay, say it.
I have a love-hate relationship with the gym. Clearly, I hate it right now if you look at me, but I mean, I want to get in there, but I got too many people to work with and go above and beyond this real estate game right now. So.
Yeah.
Amen.
So I just want to let all the listeners out there know that I am making a physical sacrifice of my personal health for you. So just so you know, just kidding.
That's my excuse too. Yeah.
That was a joke.
So what are those same motivations to work hard, to go above and beyond, to be the first initiator? What does that look like for you after 5 p.m. in the home?
Oh gosh. You mean with the family?
With the family.
Well, it looks like a lot of time in the car. It looks like, let me just, this may be completely off track, but that's okay, because we don't have a script here. I noticed that sometimes, when I'm trying to teach my kids things, for example, if my daughter comes home from cheer practice and she's like, so-and-so was really hard on me today, they don't like me. And I'm like, she actually gets upset with me because I always come out to her and say, well, why? What did you do? That doesn't come from, and she gets really frustrated. She's like, you always take their side. I'm trying to teach you a different perspective. I'm trying to get you to understand it's not always what it seems. And so and that's the hard part about the whole parenting thing, is you want to be supportive, but you also want them to not be crybabies, for one.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of times at home I struggle with being their friend and which I'm mostly not their friend. They most of the time do not like me. And I don't know do you do that with your?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Really hard on them? And
yeah, I'm probably admittedly, I'm probably way harder on my kids, especially my son for some reason. I don't know why. Like, but the way I was raised, it's so funny as you were talking about this. When your daughter comes home, same thing. When I was a kid, I'd go home, something I didn't like about a teacher or I didn't like about a coach, and I would go home and I would complain. The very first words out of my dad's mouth, well, what did you do?
Yes, I do that too.
Well, what did you do, son? Like, what made them react that way? And then he would, the same thing would happen with multiple teachers or multiple coaches, and he would say to me, he said, well, you know what the one constant is in this situation, don't you? And I'm like, no, what? And he's like, it's you. And I'm like, no, Dad, it's them. He's like, no, all different teachers, all different coaches. You're the same, the constant is you.
Yeah.
So it's just, you should drive me nuts. And now here I am. I say the same stuff to my kids. And it's just, I hate admitting when your parents are right.
Yeah.
It's just like, daggone. But
yeah, and like you could actually put that back on our real estate stuff too. Well,
Absolutely.
you've had 4 clients out of the last 8 that didn't want to work with you for some reason, or the deals that didn't work out for some reason. Why? Why did they not work out? Is there something you could have done better? Is there, what's the common denominator? I think that you could do that with work and home, because a lot of times it is something that we could have done better.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't our fault, could we have fixed it? You know what I mean?
So just being intentional about looking for our own blind spots, perhaps.
Yeah. I don't know if we got off track, but that's cool. It doesn't matter.
Messy success.
Messy success. Yes. So let me look through my fancy notes here. They're really not fancy. I think I went through the next. I was gonna ask. We got question of the week, but we'll do that after. So I wanted to ask Jim a question.
oh, snap.
Also, really quick, when I listened to the first episode, I hate my laugh. It's so
Really?
annoying. Yeah.
It's genuine.
It is genuine.
I guess.
I'm not annoyed in the slightest.
Oh, well, that's a good thing. Good thing. Okay. So, Jim, you were referred by Evan.
Yes.
When I thought his name was Jill. First of all, I thought he was a woman.
Oh my God, I got a story about that, but go ahead.
So I wanted to know, was there something about Tracy French Realty or that, other than the referral, that convinced you that this is where you wanted to be?
Yeah, I Googled you, and no, I didn't really.
Oh,
no.
I was like, did you really?
No. So at the time when we were introduced, obviously I was going through a career change. Things were happening fast and furious. I was leaning on people that I trust, family, looking for advice. I had always in the back of my head, and my wife can attest to this because it used to drive her nuts. I had always in the back of my head had this interest in real estate, and I really don't know why, because I had no experience in it prior to becoming a real estate agent. But I had always, all the times that we had bought and sold a home, my wife and I always liked the process of like going and looking at homes and seeing all the things and I always liked it. So for whatever reason, I knew I had an interest in it. So then, again, when the career change happened, I was like, you know what, now's the time, I'm going to do this. And so I reached out to multiple people, obviously Evan, his family, and I was like, what do you think? And at first he was like, are you sure this is what you want to do? And I was like,
I think
yeah.
we all say that first. Like, are
Yeah.
you sure?
Are you sure this is what you want to do? And I said, well, I'm here asking you about it, so I'm pretty sure it is. So anyways, he was like, I think I got the perfect scenario for you. He said, I got somebody I'm going to call, and I'll let you know how it goes. And it was funny. He's like, because he said, I'm not so sure she wants to add anybody to her team. And
True.
He's like, but, I think this would be a good fit for you. So obviously, one thing led to another. She did think I was a woman. And that's, I'm going to detour for just a split second.
Totally fine.
For my previous career, my email started J Hill. So it was, my first name and then my first initial and then my last name. So J Hill. I cannot tell you the number of times I would send an email to people, and at the bottom in the signature, it says Jim Hill. I mean, 7 letters. It's not like, some people's first names are twice that length. But anyway, 7 letters, Jim Hill. I would get response, Jill, all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I would start making my signature at the bottom bigger and bigger and bigger and more bold letters. So like, if you call me Jill and you've scrolled to the bottom of this email, it's funny. So then here we are.
It's on you at that point.
Add a photo. Add a photo.
Oh, there is a photo in my email now. But anyways, it's funny because then Tracy did it like within the first couple of times. I said, hey, by the way, my name is Jim and I'm a man.
To be fair, I did not have an email signature to look at.
It just cracks me up because I was like, man, so it wasn't.
Well, and Evan had also mentioned you were a cheerleader. So I just assumed.
Oh, you stereotyped me.
I totally did. Well, I just thought.
Tracy,
I
it's 2021. What is wrong with you?
Okay,
No, I'm totally
next.
kidding.
I would love to see. I would love to learn what cheer was like in 2001.
Oh, it was fantastic. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. I loved it. It was
glory days.
I'm telling you what. So at NC State, and I'm going to try not to detour too much, we had at the time great athletics. I mean, they're not bad now, but there's a lot of sports fans out there who love and hate my favorite player, and his name is Phillip Rivers. He was a quarterback at NC State, and I always despised ESPN when they framed him as this like whiny, complaining. No, I met the guy. And probably one of the nicest, most down-to-earth dudes I've ever met. And I can guarantee you to this day, he's never once said a curse word. Or at least, I mean, he was always dadgum, shoot, dang it. And like, it was funny. It's crazy, but he was the nicest guy ever. So anyways, I'll get back. But back to 2001, we were playing in big bowl games. I was going, the basketball team was, cheering in the NCAA tournament. That carried over when I was here at Louisville. I got to cheer in the 2005 Final Four. I mean, that was.
So you were spoiled.
Oh yeah, I got to go all over, do great bowl games, and one of my favorite bowl games was I think it was 2001. Actually, it's funny. It's the same year that we won the national championship. I think it was 2001, but NC State played Notre Dame down in Orlando at the Gator Bowl, and we smoked them 28-6. And I'll never forget it because there are certain teams that you love to see lose, and Notre Dame for me is one of them. So, anyways, there's that. But cheering back in the day, it was more than just the competitive side. Obviously, winning as a competitive cheerleader is awesome. But then, the basketball experience, I had the best seats in the house. I was right on the sideline, so.
So going back to joining the team.
Yes, sorry.
No.
I took a big detour.
No, that we're all about detours. It's fine. My job is to put us back on track, supposedly.
You're doing well.
Would you say that the real estate business or your career is going different? Is it what you expected, or is it because I think a lot of people get in this business and they're like, oh, I love to show houses.
Yep.
I love the decor and getting ideas, and they think that's what it's about. And I'm curious to know. Yeah.
So for me in particular, yes and no is my answer, and I'll explain both. So yes, in the context, there are any career out there or any major life change or I think anything that you go into, you have mentors and you have family that always say to you, hey, expect this. You've had these people that have these, lived experiences, these life experiences, they've done what you're about to do. Mm-hmm. Expect this to happen. Expect this to happen. You trust them, kind of like marriage. Everybody's like, oh, the first year, or when you have kids, oh, kids are wonderful, but, and it's like, oh no, my kids are going to be perfect, And you know that you're getting sound advice from these folks that are giving you this advice, and you're like, yeah, no, cool, I'll deal with that as it comes along. You have no idea what they're telling you until you actually experience it yourself. Mm-hmm. So yes, I mean, I expected obstacles, I expected ups and downs. I mean, you're familiar with credit scores, you're familiar with not everybody can get finance for the same amount of money. Not everybody has the same taste. Some people have a really good taste. Other people's tastes are in their mouth. But that's a whole different story. It's just so yes, in the context of are there things that I expected that have yes, there are things that I expected and they have played out exactly as I expected them. And then there are other things that, have been complete curveballs. Mm-hmm. But I think to me, that's kind of like normal life. I mean, in general,
True.
It's, again, you have people, mentor now, Evan, you got my family out there telling me one thing. Are you sure you want to do this? Is this, that, and the other? And it's like, yeah, and you expect things to happen. Nothing's perfect in life. You're always going to have to deal with obstacles, but at the same time, it's it's how you deal with it and move forward. I feel like so yes and no to answer your question. Yes, there are things that have happened that I expected, and then no, there are things that have happened that are like, holy smokes, where did that come from? So
is working. I don't really like to say for me, but I don't like that because we're a team. Like,
yeah, we are.
but yeah, I feel like we're, everyone on my team is partners. Like, but is work, how great is it working on the Tracy French team? Let's just get.
Well, Tracy, let me just tell you how wonderful it is working for you. No, I'll be honest. And I think that's one reason why. I think this is what Evan knew that he couldn't really explain. I think he knew who you are as a person, and there's gonna be a lot of people gonna listen to this is like, oh, he's just trying to blow smoke right now because he's sitting next to no. So that's not who I am. Black and white is what you get from me. What you see is what you get. So specific to working with you guys on your team. So it's not just you. Yeah. I mean, whether it's Janitra, Jennifer, Yanni, Victoria, the Brandons, whoever, Crystal now, and Robin especially, like when we need something, we're all there for each other. I mean, it really is a true team, and even, I mean, I take it one step further, family. I mean, there was, times when I'm in a pinch, and I'm like, I really need to get this client who's not responded to me for 2 months, all of a sudden responds, they want to see this house today, and I'm out of town.
Yep.
And, and I can call, anybody on the team or send a text, and somebody's there to help. So like, there's that, real legit team family atmosphere, and it's genuine. It's not, it's not fake. I mean, it's, we're all there to help each other. And that is a huge, just blessing. Whereas, other jobs and careers that I've had in the past, I mean, you got some real ones that'll be there for you. But I mean, when you're this close knit with people on a daily basis, it's our livelihoods.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because if you don't, and again, it's not all about the money. I mean, it is. We don't do this for free, but if you don't get to a closing table, we don't see dollars on the back end. So, and you said something earlier, and I started to comment on this, but you were talking about we don't always try to go into situations and see dollar signs, and that's true. I've always been the kind of person to where like I want to reverse engineer my results. If I do all the work on the front end, then what I need to happen on the back end is going to happen for me.
That was a fancy word.
You're welcome.
For me.
You are welcome.
Go ahead.
But yeah, no. So family aspect, and I think that's, again, I might be repeating myself, but something that Evan knew about you and the way you do work in the business and things of that, all the X's and O's that have to happen. I think he just knew, he knew my current situation, where I was coming from, and he knew kind of if I was actually really going to do this, what it would take to be successful. And he helped put me in the right place. So.
Yeah. And that, again, it all goes back to, like, for me, choosing the people who I want to work with. That was it goes back to what you said of when, as far as hiring a contract to close coordinator, that was step one. Step two was, how do I leverage my time by, I can't handle 124 deals a year by myself anymore. How do I get someone else?
You send them to me.
And yes, but picking people, that was really hard for me is, and I know for a fact that there are so many agents in my position that I'm not in it anymore, but where I was, where it's like, that those people that reach out to you want to work with you. They don't necessarily want to be passed off. And I don't consider it being passed off, but that was something that I had to get over. Like, will they be okay not having me there at every showing? And that it's just hiring the right people or pulling in the right team that has the same goals that I do, that operate generally the same way that I do, how you care about people as a whole and doing what's right for them and helping guide them. Because if I get a client and I want, for example, Jim to work with them, I am now confident that Jim is just an extension of me. And I'm sure that when I have Jim step in, he's not going to skip a beat. None of my agents will. Jennifer actually just did a video with Rob Sass. With you guys helped us do this video, and that's something that I didn't know what she said in the video until I watched the end. But she's like, she said something like Tracy handpicks us, and I don't go out, I don't recruit, but I do in the sense of if someone approaches me, I have to feel right about it. Like it just, and with Jim, it felt. Let me go. Can I just say something really quick? I think I may have told you this. I think I told you this. I was really nervous about him joining the team.
Ooh.
Because
dun dun dun,
an intimidating brow.
And I told, like, I talked to my broker Jay about it. I'm like, because up until that point, each member of my team, I helped them reach a certain level of success, and that was really why they came to me, so I could help them. Jim had already reached a certain level of success in his former job where he was already making six figures. He was, he had done very well. And again, I don't really look at myself the way other people look at me. Like some people look at me and they're like, oh, well, she's intimidating, or, she's so successful. But to me, I'm like, I'm just little old me. And I was like, this dude wants to work with me. Like he's already been a national sales director for varsity cheer, but he wants me to help him. Like what?
Yes.
So that was, I told Jam, like he's probably, and again, I'm not going to toot his horn too much, but I had to level up, like, cause he made me, want to be, it's like, well, he's already been successful, and that was a lot on my shoulders. Now he's been laid off and he has a wife and two kids to support, and he's relocating, and that was a lot of pressure for me to make sure that I was going to be able to do the job. So no pressure, but you seem to be doing very well.
You've done well.
So I don't know. Anyway, I just had to kind of put that out there because that was a real test for me. Like Anywho.
Delegation requires a lot of trust.
Yeah, it does. So, and it's another thing with starting the team, you want to help your agents get to a point where they're thriving. I don't want to say on their own because I'm always still there for them. And there may be a time where they reach a level in their business where they move on. Like maybe I've done such a good job prepping them that they want to go and level up themselves and go and start another team, things like that. But while they're with me, I'm going to keep helping them grow, and hopefully they don't want to leave me. But, that's always, you're not going anywhere, Jim. Just saying. Nothing witty? You don't have anything witty after that?
I have nowhere to go.
All right.
Except up.
Except your direct competition.
Right.
That's the next step. Man, I had a friend that I was talking to yesterday, actually, and he was saying that just the quote that I took away from him was, if you have 5 rich friends, you'll be the 6th.
I've heard that.
If you have 4 entrepreneurial friends, you'll be the 5th. Just surrounding yourself with the right kind of people does wonders, and it seems to be working out really well for you guys. That's awesome.
I think so too. We're glad to have him, and I don't know if I don't have anything else over here on my list. So where do we go from? Where do we go from? No, I'm just kidding. Y'all remember that song?
I don't think so.
That was aggressive.
Do y'all ever just start you start to say something that is it's totally a song lyric, and then you just bust out in song like that?
Every day. I'm
Deborah
really excited
Cox,
because
where do we go from here? That should be our ending music. I'm just kidding.
My 3-year-old's starting to put everything into musical form, so I know that it's working at least a little bit.
You do it too. When we were out of town at the conference in Orlando, you busted out in song.
I've been known
times.
to sing once or twice.
Yeah. All right. Well, you just kind of look.
I'm a one-hit wonder, though. I've only got one song. It's "I Believe in a Thing Called Love" by The Darkness. So that's it.
Never heard of it.
Oh, you will.
It's a great song.
Speaking of things never heard of, that reminds me. episode 1, we talked about Pick Pack. And me
yeah.
taking my checks there to cash them, and Ryan and you did not know what Pick Pack was. So I Googled it when I left. Is there still a Pick Pack? And they are all over the south end of Louisville. Man. So you didn't know because you were an out-of-towner, and Ryan didn't know because he's a baby. So
I've heard of Tic Tacs. They help you with your breath.
Oh, Lord.
Probably edit that out.
Oh, man.
Oh, so should we get to the question of the week?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
Let's look up. So those of you listening, hopefully you didn't X out of the whatever listening forum you were listening to. So we're going to be doing a question of the week. So if you have a question that you want to ask me or ask Jim, you can message me or something, however you want. You can text me if you have my phone number. So this question is actually a question that I get a lot. So Bobby Pinkston is another amazing agent in our RE/MAX office. He says, with as busy of a schedule as you have, what kind of things do you do to make sure your clients, as well as family and friends, feel prioritized and valued? This can be a struggle for new agents as well as seasoned ones. That is, Jim, you know a little bit about that too. That is that's one of the hardest things in this business, especially when it's your full-time gig and you really have aspirations of being great. Because sometimes your family does feel left out. And I will just be really brutally honest. I don't know if there's a way around that. I really don't know. I don't know if there's a way around it completely. I think that you have to, especially when you're new in the business, you can't really say no. You kind of have to take what comes. And then eventually, where I'm in the position now where, again, I started a team and I can leverage things. I can be home in the evenings more and kind of say, okay, Janitra, I've got this person who they're looking for a house in this price range. Can you take it? So I am able to be home more. But it took probably a good 5 to 6 years before I was afforded that luxury. But I would say it is totally worth it if you can get through those times. Obviously, make sure your friends and family know you love them, but also try to get them to understand. Look, you got to do this for yourself and for your family, and it's just part of it. Nights and weekends are a thing. Obviously, that's when most people are looking at property, and you just kind of have to. It stinks. Jim had a situation last week where one of his clients kind of popped up out of, was it one of your clients? Yeah, popped up out of nowhere and was like, hey, I want to see this house at 4:00 or whatever the time was. And he already had plans.
Yeah, I was meeting my wife and kids so my wife's a teacher, and I was meeting them after they left the school for dinner. We eat with the old crowd, like we eat early every day. Sometimes we get a discount. Sometimes I'm just kidding.
Are you a regular at Village Inn or anything like
that? Close. But no, we were gonna go to Drake's, and we were gonna meet there at like 5:00. I was already ready for a nice frothy adult beverage at 5:00, and this client called and they were like, "Hey, found this house. Can you come show it to me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. I can do that. When you want to see it? Right now?" And I'm like at the restaurant waiting for my wife and kids to get there. And, long story short, called my wife. We changed plans. I went and showed the house. I think I'm actually getting ready to offer on that house, which is good. But that client is, solid is going to be a buyer for sure. Hopefully. But, to kind of expand on that, I think the thing for me, and this goes back to the question of the week, and again, I'm still brand new in this whole new career. I think it's the moments that you have with your loved ones is consciously being present and like taking the moments that you have you know, and being there and being present. And, you know, in this business, you can't really just put your phone away or put your email away. I mean, you just can't. I mean, it's especially when you're brand new and you're trying to grow your business and grow your, you know, your clientele. I mean, you just can't not pay attention when the phone rings, when you get the text. So that's super frustrating because you want to be present. I mean, my kids are still young. I mean, my son is 7, he'll turn 8 in October, and my daughter's 5. So, you know, they're still young, and I want to be there for every single thing that they do. And I try my best to, but just taking the moments that I do have when I don't have something else going on, and making sure that I'm present. And then, you know, another saying that, you know, not to be cliche, but it's something that Dave Ramsey has said many a times, but he said, if you can live like no other today, you can live like no other tomorrow. So kind of, you know, taking that mindset of being present with your family and your loved ones when the moments present themselves. Yeah. And then, you know, understanding and helping your family understand that, hey, like the hustle is real. Like the grind is real. Like if I'm not able to focus on those things right now, and I'm sorry, we're going to have to make some sacrifices to do that. But if I can make those sacrifices now, and we can get to, you know, this point up here in the future, this goal that we have set, then, you know, in theory, once we get there, you know, maybe a few years down the road, but, you know, we're not gonna have to worry about this stuff anymore. Yes, I'm always gonna want to go and do. That's just my nature. Mm-hmm. You know, I just, you know, I'm constantly finding myself in a situation where I want to go and serve, you know, the people who are reaching out to me that want my service. So, you know, I think it's kind of an innate thing for folks like Tracy and myself and those of us on her team. Like we want to serve and we want to be there. But when the moments present themselves and you don't have anything else going on, making sure that you are present in the moment for those loved ones that are around you.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's absolutely not going to be easy. There's no way around that. But one thing that I have done, and I've mentioned this on many occasions, is making sure that I always pre-program my, for example, sporting games or special events with the kids or the family, always putting that in my calendar. So that way, you know, like I was trying to help one of my new agents kind of figure this out. But one of the things I asked her is, do you use the calendar in your phone? And she said, no. I'm like, we're going to change that. We have to change that because there's so many things in this business are unplanned. You never know when that phone's going to ring, and you're going to have someone on the other line who is hot and ready to buy, and they want to see this house at 123 Main Street at 3:00.
I just put in an offer on that one.
Wouldn't doubt it. You need to be able to immediately pull up your calendar and say, well, actually, let me back up. The way that I do things, and this is kind of what has helped me maintain some level of sanity when things are quite insane, is when someone contacts me to see a property or do a listing appointment, whatever the case may be, I'm going to pull up my phone, and everything that means something to me, or even if it doesn't mean anything to me, if it's needing to be in there, it's there. Dentist appointments, cheer practice, you know, whatever it is, it's there. So I can pull it up immediately and say, you know what, Mr. Joe, I can show you that house on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Or I can do it at this day and this time. So that's one way you can keep control of your business and your schedule, is offering when they want something. But if you can't do that if you don't specifically have everything in your calendar that needs to be there, because you're going to say, you know, you're going to forget. For me, if it's not in my calendar, I'm not showing up. It's just the way. If I forget, I apologize in advance because I'm not going to be there.
Wasn't on the calendar.
Exactly. But that's a way that you can make sure that you have the family time that you need, whether, you know, sporting events, award ceremonies, anything like that. And still, when you get that call or you have that person who wants to meet with you, whether it's, you know, buyer consultation, whatever it is, you can say, you give them 2 or 3 options and let them pick one. And you're still staying in control of your schedule. Is that always going to work out perfect? No. But that's why, like for us, that's why if it doesn't, and I told Crystal, the new agent, if you do that, because she's a cheerleading coach and she's got other commitments. I'm like, if you offer those things to your people and they can't do it, that's when you lean on the team. That's when you say, you know what, I really can't do that, but I've got so-and-so that's going to meet you there. And we lean on each other for that. Because it's really important that we are able to maintain some sort of life outside of real estate.
Oh yeah.
So, but honestly, no matter how you look at it, it's gonna be a struggle. You're gonna always have that feeling of, did I do enough? Like, do they know? I would sometimes rather have an extra hour or two with them or whatever. But hopefully, your friends and your family are understanding of your goals and your why, and ultimately that's what it's about, the bigger picture. And if everyone around you can help sacrifice and understand, it's going to, make you feel a little less guilty, I guess.
Absolutely.
So, Bobby, I hope that helped answer your question. And I hope you listen to this. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. That was officially episode number 2 of Messy Success with Tracy French and Friends. And thank you, Jim, for joining me today. And Joel, thank you for sitting in again.
You are welcome.
Thank you. We are I think next week we're going to talk a little bit about parenting and how that can get messy and how to overcome raising teenage daughters with smart mouths. So listen in. Until next time.
See you next time.